Hi, I'm Natalie Chasse, and we are making the epic 4-ingredient spicy cherry tomato and rocket pasta. It is a marvel of a dish, and it has a nice little background story which I will share with you, but there are so many things I love about it. A, it is unbelievably delicious. It is the quickest thing ever to make, literally. There's minimal prep, minimal chopping, minimal everything but maximum flavor. So essentially this dish came around earlier this year, 2020, what year are we? 2022. I was really sick with morning sickness, and some of my biggest food aversions was like garlic, onions, herbs. And I could barely look at food or in the fridge, but I did want to cook, okay? I was like, I really missed it. My husband wanted me to make him a pasta sauce. And all we really had were like tomatoes, some rocket, lemon, and chili. That was kind of it. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. I'll make you a sauce, but there's not going to be any garlic. There's not going to be any onions. It's going to be super, super simple. And it was, but oh my God, the result was just insane. And it really kind of dawned on me that when it comes to cooking a pasta, it's so much more about technique than it is actually okay, of course the ingredients are important, don't get me wrong. But the point is you can really make something exceptionally delicious out of very little ingredients by using the right technique, okay? So essentially, today is about showing you how you can literally just fry halved tomatoes in lots of olive oil until they blister and explode and become, emulsified and really, really delicious with a little bit of chili, a little bit of acidity from the lemon, obviously using pasta water to really emulsify that tomato sauce and tie it all together. Parmesan cheese, because what is, pasta without a bit of Parmesan? And we're using spaghetti today. But really just simple, minimal ingredients. But this is a banging fresh tomato sauce, okay? So without further ado, we will get cracking. Because it's so quick, my water for the pasta is already on the boil. So we'll probably start cooking the spaghetti about halfway through the tomatoes being cooked, okay? Because it comes together super fast. But we will get started on the tomatoes first. But quick note on the pasta, as per the ingredients list, any long strand spaghetti of your choice will work. So bucatini, muffaldine, linguine, tagliatelle, whatever you like, long is gonna work with this, okay? You want something to, those tomatoes to kind of get twirled around. So let's get cracking on our very first part of this very simple dish. And might I add, okay, as I guess it is with most chefs or people who share recipes online, you've got your sort of classic dishes that people just, or your favorites that people really, really love and warm to. And this is very much one of them. So I hope you're gonna love it. Let's get started. So I've got cherry tomatoes, which we're literally just going to halve, okay? I wanna keep them relatively chunky because it's pretty much the core ingredient. So we're not trying to make like a passata sauce. We're making a fresh tomato sauce. So we want them to, at least some of them, to retain their shape. About 400 grams, plus minus, of cherry tomatoes. So I don't need all of those because that's quite a lot, but I'm gonna just eyeball the amount that I need. Probably gonna make a portion size. I can never commit to my word on this when I say I'm making for two, and it always ends up being more, but let's say I'm either making 2 really large portions today or 4 small, more like starter sized portions, okay? And this is also a perfect example of a sauce that is just really such a pleasure to make. How you really kind of like become one with it, okay? Without sounding like, a weird pasta hippie. But it's a really nice process just to watch the tomatoes slowly kind of break down and blister and explode and just become amazing. So that is a pretty decent amount. I'm gonna just add in 2 more, why not? Okay, so tomatoes are good to go. Pasta water is boiling. We haven't added salt yet, we'll get to it. This is key. We're not tying this together with loads of other liquids and other sauces. The liquid that we're relying on today is olive oil. the juice that's going to naturally come out of the tomatoes and pasta water, okay? Meaning, get a generous amount of olive oil into your frying pan, okay? So, generous amount of olive oil, heat onto medium to high, depending on what you've got in front of you. If you have an induction, they're usually a little weaker than a open flame, so high. Open flame is usually quite strong, so medium to high on that. And we're gonna let the frying pan get nice and hot before we throw these cherry tomatoes in. Then they go in, they cook down, they blister, we salt them, we lemon them, we chili them. We're gonna throw in a little bit of butter, turn the heat down, cook the pasta, tie it all together, and you've got the most fantastic dish in front of you. Okay, so I'm gonna let that get a little hotter before they go in. And you can see I've got a generous amount of olive oil in there, and we can always add more, obviously, okay? You can add more olive oil at any point. Lemon will come later, but let's let this get hot. Then we'll throw those in. And then we can almost start cooking our pasta, because that's how quickly we tie everything together. We don't need to cook those tomatoes down too much. We want them to still have their body, have their form. And I haven't spoken much about the rocket yet, and I'll tell you what I want to say about the rocket. On top of being very off garlic and onions at the time, herbs really, really turned me inside out, especially basil. So like you'd think that basil would be the most classic herb to pair with this dish, but I didn't want to use basil, and we had some really nice, strong, fresh, peppery rocket in the fridge. And tomatoes go in, by the way. Immediately, you got a great sizzle happening there. Anyway, I digress. We had some really nice, fresh, peppery rocket, which some reason rocket did not like freak me out. I was very into rocket still. And so at the very end of making the pasta dish, I just tossed some fresh rocket. When the pasta was already in there, when the spaghetti was already in there, tossed some fresh peppery rocket throughout the dish at the end, and it was just the perfect addition. And so even now that I can kind of handle herbs again, it is still my green leaf of choice for this dish. Okay, so just let those tomatoes sit, simmer, blister, explode, get jammy, break down. We can salt them, okay? Definitely go in and add some salt now. You want that heat to be at a point where they are actively cooking, okay? They shouldn't just be sitting there doing nothing. They need to be working in that heat, in that olive oil, okay? Just give them a toss. Perfect. Okay. So we're not going to add anything to those, okay, for now. We just want to let them get amazing. So on that note, let's talk pasta, because we can actually start cooking our pasta now, okay, whilst everything else happens here in this frying pan. What you need, obviously, is your pasta. I've got a pot of boiling water ready. We're going to heavily salt the water, and what I really, really want you to grab are a pair of tongs, okay? Because when the pasta is ready, we're going to tong the pasta straight from the pot into the pan, keeping those noodles nice and slippery. You can also have to hand a ladle, okay? Because pasta water and using that pasta water is quite important in this dish. Okay, so we're gonna get cooking on the pasta shortly. I just wanna bump my heat up just a little bit in the frying pan. And also, if at any point you wanna add more olive oil, please take the liberty to do just that. Nothing in your frying pan should ever look dry. We are creating a sauce out of minimal ingredients, so let it be oily. We want those tomatoes to explode, all that jazz. Okay, salt, heavily salt your water. And regarding cooking time on your pasta, whatever your packet says, you are going to cook the pasta for 2 minutes less than that. So, my cooking time on this to al dente is 10 minutes. I'm going to cook it for 8 minutes because it's going to continue cooking in the tomato sauce, meaning it will go beyond being al dente. So if I cooked it to the full 10 minutes in the pot and then put it in the frying pan where I want to emulsify it with the pasta sauce and kind of really get it nicely coated in a little bit of heat as well, then it's going to be overcooked. So I am going to cook this for 2 minutes less than what the packet says, so 8 minutes. And I'm going to make about 1 whole packet of spaghetti. We'll feed 6 portions, roughly. You can do more, but why not? Just a little bit more. But I'm going to make, like I said, 4 smallish portions, and I'm going to use about half a packet. Okay? So, timer, 8 minutes, please. And I always do this, always end up throwing in a little bit more. Okay? So that's it. Pasta's in, timer's on. Whatever your timer is, just make sure that that is set. And we're going to get the pasta in the water. Okay. We are good. So let's take a look at our tomatoes, which are sizzling down beautifully. Ooh, they look good. Okay. And that's just tomatoes and olive oil, my friends. Okay. Cooking in a little bit of salt. There ain't a huge amount going on here, but trust me, that is already really delicious. And we're using cherry tomatoes because they are really nice and sweet. And it's going to be perfect to balance against the lemon juice and the chili, the pepper, the peppery rocket, and all of that, okay? So on that note, I'm going to go in. You could use a fresh chili. I'm using spicy chili flakes because they are as effective as a nice hot chili. And I like this to be really spicy, so I'm using quite a lot, but use however much you like. And I'm going to turn the heat down because it's cooking quite intensely and I don't need it to cook that intensely at this very moment. I love a sauce that will come together at the same time that your spaghetti is cooking, right? So all we've done is olive oil, tomatoes, salt, chili, okay? Those are gonna just cook down and you can see in that frying pan, you have a gorgeous sauce already forming. Now just wait until we get the pasta water in there as well, and Parmesan cheese and, you know, a little bit of butter. It's pretty epic as per the name. Okay, juice of 1 lemon is going in. You will always have the opportunity to add more if you wish. But if you've got nice 1 big juicy lemon, should be enough. Okay, so that's on a nice gentle bubble now. And look how quickly that has formed as a sauce, okay? Like we are in a good position here. Yum, yum, yum. Like that is just flavor, okay? If you want to add more olive oil, you can, but these are just going to continue cooking down as the pasta cooks. And then, of course, that pasta water is going in there. I'm going to have a taste. How can that be so good? How can it be so good? Like, that is so freaking delicious already, and it's literally tomato, olive oil, lemon, salt, and chili. That is it. Okay, obviously we're not going to stop there. There's going to be the nice nuttiness from the Parmesan that everybody wants. You can also, optional, add a little knob of butter if you so wish. And I'm going to do it because I so wish. That's going in. Maybe a touch more. Boom. Okay, pasta's cooking away nicely. When your pasta is 2 minutes away from being done, okay, and your water's looking nice and starchy, you're going to start ladling some of that pasta water into the sauce. Okay, so what we can do now, whilst our pasta continues to cook, we can just use this time to grate a generous amount of Parmesan cheese so that it's just already done, ready to go, okay? So, grate the cheese. If you want, you can go ahead and have a taste of the sauce right now. Okay, it's done. Taste it, see if you want to add more chili, more lemon. Bear in mind, we haven't added pepper yet. We need to do that. Parmesan hasn't gone in. The rocket will go in at the very end so that it is super fresh, okay? And I would always vote for really nice, strong, peppery rocket with this. Against the sweetness of the tomatoes, it is perfection. Okay, so we'll always plate with a little extra Parmesan as well, which you can do individually on your grater. But It's always nice to have some parm ready to go to work through the sauce when the pasta goes in, okay? So I'm just getting that ready. I just love how quick this is and how easy this is and how delicious this is. It genuinely excites me, this sauce, for all of those reasons. Okay, pepper. Now, you want to be mindful of heat, right? Because you don't necessarily want this gorgeous sauce that you've created to essentially cook away. Okay, so my heat is super low right now because this is what has kind of this is what I've created in my frying pan, okay? A really gorgeous, look at that sticky kind of emulsified sauce. So in about a minute from now, we're gonna start to ladle some of the pasta water into the frying pan. And when we do that, we can start to bring the heat up a little bit, okay? I just wanna have a taste of that sauce to see if I want to add, let me get a teaspoon. To see if I want to add any lemon, okay? Or any chili, more chili perhaps. Yum. It's perfect, it's perfect. Maybe a little more chili, but I think it's perfect. I mean, look how good that looks. Look how sticky and thick and gorgeous that is. It's just halved cherry tomatoes. I'm always kind of, am I going on about this too much? Like, is this just obvious to everyone that that's what tomatoes do? But like, I'm just blown away by them consistently. I actually regret not using more of these and making more. I'm gonna throw a couple more in. Just a couple. Waste not, want not, okay? But you don't have to follow my lead here. I'm just being I'm being a bit of a glutton because I know I'm going to want more of this sauce. Okay, so we're at a good stage now to start ladling some of that pasta water in. I'm just going to give the spaghetti a little twist in there. Okay, you'll know that your pasta water is ready when it looks cloudy. Okay, so it should look starchy, which mine does. So as I start to put this in, okay, I'm happy to bring my heat up a little bit. Because, like I said before, we're going to finish cooking the spaghetti in the sauce. Now, pasta water is brilliant. The starchiness emulsifies your sauce. If you've like, fuck, I've added too much, don't worry, it will always reduce. And especially when your pasta goes in, it's going to reduce as well. But what you want to do, you make sure when you start using that pasta water into your frying pan that your heat, if it was low before, that you just bump it a little bit. You just bump it up a little bit. That's it, okay? So, we're almost done. For plating, a nice flat plate, something where you can tong and twirl the pasta onto it. So that's what I'm gonna grab. And then, when that pasta is ready, of course, if you like, taste one of your strands of pasta first, just to make sure it's not too raw, but do bear in mind that it will continue to cook in the pot, okay? Sorry, in the frying pan. So mine's looking good. I've cooked this pasta 1,000 times, so I know that 8 minutes is perfect. And we are at the 8-minute mark. So I'm gonna move this pot closer to my sauce, my glorious sauce that is a marvel to me every time. And we are gonna start tonging the pasta directly into the pan. Okay. And that is looking good. I mean, a thing of beauty is a tomato spaghetti. I'm gonna turn my heat down a little because it's quite hot now and I don't want the pasta to overcook. Okay, but I just wanna get all of those strands in there. Look at that. So yeah, this is definitely too large for smallish portions, but I've still got more noodles in here. But who am I kidding? This could definitely, I could probably eat this entire pot myself, let alone try divide it amongst 4 people. So, okay, now is the fun, okay? Just take your time. You can use tongs, you can use a spatula, whatever works better to work your spaghetti through that glorious sauce, okay? We are then gonna go in. If you need to add more pasta water, if it's looking dry, if it's not looking saucy enough, the beauty of not draining your pasta is that you've got all this pasta water here to use. Okay, Parmesan, boom, goes in. Tong all of that through as well. So that's going to be really nice and cheesy. That's going to thicken up the sauce as well. And of course, as always, we're going to plate with more Parmesan, a little more chili, a little more olive oil, a little more salt if you so wish. And that is the sauce done, okay? Oh, it's gorgeous. Doesn't look like much, might look like a very simple tomato sauce, but let me tell you, the flavor is out of control. So now we're gonna go in with a nice handful, like I said, at the very end of that peppery rocket, and it's gonna retain bite because we're using it at the very end, okay? And the pepperiness of the rocket works really, really well with this whole concept, okay? We've got spice, we've got lemoniness, we've got sweetness from the cherry tomatoes, peppery, fresh, green vibes from the rocket, and that, okay, is it. I'm gonna get some more rocket in there. Great. We're gonna get a little more pepper in there, and then we're gonna plate. And you are gonna have the most wonderful plate of pasta in front of you. And how long did that take? Not long at all. This will be your go-to pasta every week. Trust me on that. Okay, so what do we need in front of us? Parmesan cheese, a grater, your tongs. Keep the ladle to get some more sauce on there. I'm gonna move this out of the way so we can plate beautifully. That has so far, I believe, taken just over 20 minutes. And I swear you could do it quicker, you know, once you've learned this recipe yourself. And it's a good concept, right? Because you could take any other ingredients and do something similar. If you opened your fridge and you just had anchovies, capers, and lemons, fry them in lots of olive oil, add pasta water, add Parmesan, and you are good, okay? So that's looking lovely. We are gonna take a tong full of pasta to a flat plate. I always hold my hand under the plate. I'm left-handed, okay, so this might look funny on your end, but just make sure everything's well coated. Take a nice big tonging of spaghetti to the center of your plate, slowly lower it down with a little twist. Get some more in there. You know, I never used to be a massive, like, someone who swooned over a tomato pasta, but I fully appreciate the simplicity of a good plain tomato pasta sauce. Now, that is not how I want you to plate this, okay? What I want you to do is get your ladle now and get any sauce that is kind of like, you can see there's loads of tomatoes here, so I'm just gonna get these tongs out of the way. All of that gorgeous sauce you wanna bring to each plate as well, okay? So, get that on top. Do not waste any of that. Everybody deserves to have that gorgeous emulsified sauce on top of their plate. Okay, beautiful. If you want to get a little bit more rocket in there, why not? And I'm gonna just clean the side of the plate. What a beautiful, sexy, simple plate of pasta. As you know, we are not quite done. Of course, Parmesan cheese. Not a large clump of Parmesan cheese, but okay. This is so good. I kind of like how it's off center, okay? But that wasn't even on purpose, it just looks nice. Okay, so, oh gosh, that looks good. Black pepper. If you want to add more chili, be my guest. If you want to squeeze a lemon, be my guest. I was happy with the flavors. I'm not going to do it, but if you want to, go for it. Drizzle of olive oil. And voila. The epic, spicy tomato and rocket spaghetti. Minimal ingredients, maximum flavor, minimal effort, maximum deliciousness. you cannot go wrong with these techniques. Like this is the basis on how to make an excellent pasta, okay? It's using the pasta water, it's emulsifying your ingredients with it, it's cooking things down in olive oil sufficiently, and from these sort of basic concepts, you can now go ahead and make almost whatever pasta sauces you like in the future with minimal ingredients, whatever you have at home, you know? So enjoy and think about what further creations you can do with whatever might be hanging around in your fridge. So that is it. Enjoy.